Jenny Art at a City of Fort Collins council meeting recently suggested that Fort Collins found itself on another tops list. Well, in early 2000, Money Magazine ranked Fort Collins #1 as the best place to live in the United States. That basically jumped us onto the heat map of everybody's relocation considerations. So I started to do a little bit of research, and it came at the perfect time because the National Association of Realtors just came out with the Net Migration Trend report. And it was interesting to see where people are moving, how does Colorado rank, and then looking at 3 different articles. Top 7 underrated cities in Colorado, top 25 underrated cities in the United States, and then the top up-and-coming cities in the United States as well. And Fort Collins found itself on each one of those 3 lists. So we're gonna go through some of these net migration trends and then each article and discuss a little bit about where it ranks and how it ranks. So my name is Patrick Soukup, and this is the Living in Fort Collins YouTube channel where you come to learn everything there is about Fort Collins in Northern Colorado. Eating, sleeping, playing, working, net migration trends, underrated, top rated, best, you know what I'm talking about. Fort Collins. Now, if you're considering relocating to the area, my team and I are licensed real estate agents in the state of Colorado and have helped hundreds of families relocate to the area. So give my team and I a call, text, or email. We would love to be an asset on your team. Without any further delay, and at the end of this video, if you've enjoyed it, give it a comment. Tell me what you think is the most exciting and underrated aspect about Fort Collins and Northern Colorado. But without any further delay, let's go. Now, seeing as I don't want to mess up these statistics as they are specific numbers, the net migration trends come out annually about where people are moving and why they are moving and what to expect. Now, as a realtor, where can you talk about where your city ranks, your state ranks, all that good stuff. So let's go through some of the high points as it relates to Fort Collins and Colorado. 46% of movers move to the south, but 25% are heading to the west, which Colorado is a part of. Now, so it came in as the #2 region where people are moving. And why people are moving. 30% are moving for family and friends proximity, 21% are moving for more house for the money, and 16% for lower taxes and safer neighborhoods. I will say, generally speaking, with the majority of people that we've worked with, there are some people who are moving to be closer to family. There are some that are moving to be further away from family. There are some that are moving with family here, mom, son, brother, sister, groups of families. And it's been really cool to see the different reasons why people have moved here. Now, more house for the money. That's an absolute fact. We have people who have moved here from Sunnyvale, California, who sent us listings of a 1,200 square foot house for about $2 million. And then they moved here and got a 3,500 square foot house for $750,000. So there is a bigger value play. And even within the state of Colorado, a lot of people are considering Colorado Springs, Denver, Boulder, and Fort Collins. Now, Colorado Springs is probably gonna be the most affordable of those 4, but then Fort Collins would be next. You get a little bit more bang for your buck versus Denver. And then Boulder, we always say, is about 10 years ahead of Fort Collins as far as prices go. So it's kind of in this stratosphere of prices for now, but for now, Fort Collins definitely within Colorado and those major areas of people are moving, more value, and then especially people moving from out of state. Yes, a lot of people are moving here because they can get more house for their buck comparatively to where they were moving from. And then lower taxes and safer neighborhoods. Now, I always talk about how I feel very, very safe in Fort Collins and Colorado, and I would say there's a little bit of ignorance where maybe I should, lock doors and windows, and my wife keeps make sure that I take the iPad out of the front seat so it's not just sitting there because, hey, the world's changing. And I grew up in Fort Collins where it wasn't necessarily Mayberry, but it was pretty darn close. And I felt like you just didn't need to lock your front door. You could leave your car unlocked. It just not much happened. And I would say more things are happening, but it's still a very safe neighborhood. And then lower taxes. Colorado, our state income tax, not too bad, 4.5%. City sales tax in Fort Collins has increased to about 8% when we just passed a 1/2-cent sales tax. So between all those things, our taxes aren't horrible. Our property taxes are very friendly, especially comparatively to the Midwest and Northeast and the South and Texas. Whereas you could see about 2.5% to 3% of your property value in annual property taxes. Here, you're looking at closer to like 0.6 to 1.25% if you're in a metro district. So All those things considered, Fort Collins, Colorado ranks pretty well. Not the best, like our neighbor to the north of Wyoming, no state income tax, but they get it somewhere. Sometimes it's the insurance that they charge, like they do along the Rust Belt. Your insurance is gonna be expensive, like there and in Florida, or sometimes it can be property taxes, or it's gonna be the house value. So no matter where you're looking, you wanna look at kind of cost of living as an all-encompassing thing, but state income taxes and state taxes are something really important to consider as well. And then finally, with the net migration trends, 42% of buyers are prioritizing outdoor space, which Fort Collins has in abundance. It's a huge focus of our area. We talked about how many hundreds of acres of parks, how many thousands of acres of open space we have, and how big of a priority it is for city council, residents of Fort Collins, and even we passed a ballot measure where we bought 165 acres for, I believe it was $12 million from the state of Colorado, who owned it, where it was the former site for Hughes Stadium, to keep it open space and natural areas, which we will learn here sooner than later what we were actually going to use it, but it will remain open space, what that actually means. But there won't be any buildings or density. It's a big focus for people in Fort Collins with 300 plus days of sun to live outdoors and enjoy that platinum rated bike community that we have here in Fort Collins. So that's the net migration trends. Now let's look at the 3 different articles that Fort Collins found itself on. And the first one is the 15 best up and coming cities in the United States in 2025. Now, some of the dynamics that they looked at was they looked at the population size of the 51st through the 200th ranked metros. So they wanted to see, you know, the top up and coming cities, not the ones that are kind of already established. So places like Denver weren't necessarily included in on this. Some of the things that they looked at as far as criteria is median age of residence, median household income, typical home price, home to income ratio, home value change in the last 12 months, and then home value change in the last 5 years, home value projection in the next 12 months, percent of adults with a bachelor's degree, walk score, bike score, and unemployment rate. And on this list, Fort Collins came in at number 16. So let's go through some of this information. Our median age, 37 years old. This actually has increased quite a bit. It used to be 29 years old. So what it suggests is that Fort Collins has a lot of people who are aging in place, whether that be the affordability to move, the locked in interest rates, whatever that might be. Our median age has actually increased quite a bit from 29 years old to 37 years old. Income, $88,182. Sounds about right. Not for a family, for an individual. House price, $551,000, 6.3 home to price ratio. So we do have a larger home to income ratio, one of the largest in the top 20, that's for sure. 6.3 times income to home price. Our home appreciation over the last 12 months was 1.22%. Over the last 5 years, 34.52%. And over the next 12 months, it's actually projected to go down 1.5%. Percent of adults with a bachelor's degree, 53%. Our walk score is 37. Our bike score is 78. It is absolutely ranking high up on there on that list. And then our unemployment rate at 3.9%. So those are the determining factors, and Fort Collins clearly would rank much higher if our housing prices were a little bit less expensive, but seen as an up and coming metro, top 20 in the United States. All right, let's see here. Top5.com ranked Fort Collins the number 8 most underrated city in the United States. And this doesn't show a ton of criteria, so we'll talk about it a little bit, but this just essentially says, discover the hidden gems of America's cities that combine affordability, charm, and fun. Well, as we've discussed, Fort Collins doesn't have the best affordability, so our charm and fun must be ranking pretty high. But Fort Collins comes in at number 8 on this list with a description of affordable, bike-friendly city with stunning mountain views, craft breweries, and a family-friendly vibe. Again, one of the things that I talked about in this video earlier were people that were wanting more house for their buck, and it depends on perspective. Fort Collins can be expensive if you're born and raised here, and you've seen a pretty dramatic increases in prices, especially over the last 20 years. But if you're moving from an area like the Northeast, Northwest, Florida, Austin, parts of Texas, California, all over the United States, in different areas that have a higher price of living or cost of homes, you're moving here and you're like, man, this is an affordable place to live. So affordability, I would say, is probably the most contentious topic to discuss on this list. But then bike-friendly city, platinum-rated bike community, 45 miles plus paved trail system, all these additional miles that are planned and scheduled. We could have nearly 75 miles of paved trail system here sooner than later in Fort Collins. And I'm excited to see all the overpasses and underpasses and connectivity of all our trails throughout Fort Collins here sooner than later. Stunning mountain views, craft breweries, and family-friendly vibe. I take it for granted, and I shouldn't, because I know that when people come here and move here and they see the mountain range, they're not huge. They're not this huge Mount Everest or K9 type mountains that you're gonna see touching the sky and the clouds. They're a little bit more foothillish. Here, especially comparatively to Colorado Springs definitely has more mountain type views and dynamics on that, but you've got it. I can always know where I'm going, directionally west on the mountains. And it's something that I shouldn't take for granted, but I do. It is gorgeous. We get out there, we hike, we enjoy them, we ski, we raft down the Poudre River. So it's definitely something that's more than just a friendly site. Craft breweries and a family-friendly vibe for both of those. Now we've got the OGs of Cooper Smith's, and then the big dog on campus, New Belgium, Odell's is right there as well. Family-friendly vibe. Poudre School District ranks very well as far as public school systems in the state of Colorado, a top 5 school district in the state of Colorado. I'll be sending my kids through the public school system. Now, enrollment in the public school system across Colorado is down. I think it's kind of a similar thing across the United States, but they're working on that. Fort Collins just recently passed an additional mill that should raise about $49 million per year for the Poudre School District to help them fund teacher salaries and these programs like PE, music, and the arts, making sure that all schools, even the smaller schools that don't have the population size, are funded properly to make sure that we are giving our students the best education possible. Now, finally, the last article that we're in, and this is probably the least exciting one, is 7 underrated cities in Colorado. And if we're talking about we're one of the top 15 up and coming areas, top 25 underrated cities. And then in Colorado, we're only ranked number 7 on underrated cities in Colorado. So we came in the last place. So if you're looking in Colorado, maybe there's 6 other cities that you want to explore other than Fort Collins. But here we go. It says, like Denver, Fort Collins has a vibrant cultural scene and abundant outdoor activities and is situated along the scenic front range of the Rocky Mountains. Some of the things that they talk about here are let's see here, craft breweries an hour from Denver. We have Colorado State University as our backbone. So we have a secure economy. And then it also talks about some of the craft beer scenes. Gilded Goat gets on the list. I've been there, I've enjoyed it. But it's definitely a smaller brewery, at least from what I can see. Prost Brewing, outdoor recreation, Horsetooth Reservoir, Soapstone Prairie, and then a laid back atmosphere with the downtown Fort Collins and Bohemian Nights at New West Fest, which doesn't exist anymore, which is one of the sad things about Fort Collins. I grew up going to Bohemian Nights at New West Fest. In fact, when they renovated College Avenue or Mountain Avenue, Bohemian Foundation put in these huge sky sails, but they no longer do it. We still have parades, still activities, still a lot of festivals downtown, but New West Fest, when I grew up, is no longer here. So I would have to say this article isn't striking me as the most exciting for Fort Collins, but craft brewery scene, absolutely something that is important to us. The outdoor lifestyle. I'm gonna hit on this just real quick. When people are moving to Fort Collins, Colorado, Northern Colorado, Loveland, Timnath, Windsor, Johnstown, Berthoud, anywhere in this region, a big driving factor is lifestyle and a focus on outdoor. That is pretty much the common denominator that it might not necessarily be at the top of everyone's list, but it is in the top 5 of everyone's list. So that is something that's really truly important, and myself and my team, we really enjoy being able to show people what is and what are opportunities in and around the area to go explore. The BMX park down in Berthoud, hiking out your back door at Bobcat Ridge or Horsetooth Mountain. It's just in abundance. So there we have it. We've got 4 different things that we talked about. The net migration trends that sees Colorado in the top 20 as far as net migration inward, and the West as the number 2 region where people are moving. And then those 3 articles, underrated, up and coming, and then underrated cities in Colorado. And Fort Collins is really near and dear to my heart. So if you have any questions or specific inquiries, or if you want to share what your comments are of what you believe Fort Collins' best underrated gem might be that this list might have missed, feel free to share that. And until next time, everybody, take care.